5-game losing streak is over. 5-game road losing streak or home losing streak is over as the Jazz blow out the Spurs. We're talking about it next on POSTCAST.
You are Locked On Jazz, your daily podcast on the Utah Jazz. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
David Locke along with Ron Boone as the Utah Jazz defeat the San Antonio Spurs in commanding fashion, 128-109. Jazz allowed just 18 points in the first quarter, just 39 points in the first half, and then cruise to a win. It got down to 9, but never was in doubt. Jazz really were in control the entire way. We had 4 lead changes early. We had 1 tie, but the Jazz led by double digits almost the entire night. This one was not close. A commanding performance from Utah, and I really think, Ron, before we get into Victor and what that was like, and also a bunch of Jazz offensive performances, we have to start with the defense. The Spurs come in, they're 27th in the league offensively, so they're not good, but on the other end, we've seen some not very good offensive teams come in here and make their way with the Jazz defense, which has been one of the worst in the NBA for the last 20 games. And we've seen much better defensive play since the All-Star break, since they made some fundamental changes by the way they're playing defense.
I think what we're seeing now is the Jazz are on the fast track of becoming a better on-ball defensive, man-to-man type defensive team, because we have not seen the zone here in the last 3 ball games for sure. And so that's something they're trying to get better at. They got a couple of young players now, with the rookies that are now, well, they got 3, as a matter of fact, that are getting in the rotation. So they're on the fast track of being a better defensive team from that standpoint.
So some of the things they're doing is they're switching less defensively. There's a lot of talk about navigating screens from Will Hardy. What is this? What is the purity of what they're trying to do defensively right now?
Well, first of all, you got to stay in front of your man. And then there's always defensive schemes that you want that the coaches put that they want you to follow. And that's the first thing that's happening out there. And then you have guys having a fight over screens. Do we want to go over the top of screens? We want to go underneath screens. But when we're fighting over screens, you got to try to make sure that you get between the screener and your man. And you heard Will talk about that in the coaches meeting about the instinct that you have in order to do something like that. So again, all of this is what they're doing right now is geared toward those 3 rookies that they're playing quite a bit. That's in the rotation now.
The one thing that's interesting, so the Jazz do a much better job of keeping people out of the paint. Like when you talk to the coaches, that's the first thing they're talking about. On the other end, Jazz are allowing over 40% on 3-point shots right now. And teams are Spurs tonight don't take a lot, but they went 13 to 31 for 42%. So it's the Jazz are going to have to try to become a better defensive team. And what you're talking about is cutting off the paint, making it hard to get there. But teams are shooting the 3 really, really well against Utah right now.
I think this time of year, most teams are becoming a better 3-point shooting teams, and it's because there's so many different defense that teams are throwing at you. Teams are they're searching for the 3-point shot, but in order for the Jazz to win basketball games, they have to become better defensive 3-point shooting. The defense has to be better from the 3-point line. Now, how do you do that? And we watched the Golden State Warriors, how well they've gotten at it, and Oklahoma City do a very good job of it as well. But the way they rotate out of it and the way they challenge the 3-point shot, I mean, it's like they know where the next pass is going, and they're already in motion with the pass. So in order for something like that, for the Jazz to improve at it, that's the type of schemes and everything they're going to have to get better at.
One thing that was different tonight, the Jazz forced 20 turnovers. Jazz are 27th in the league in forcing turnovers. They forced 8 in the first quarter, 11 for the night, 9 in the second half. That's an area where they have just not been doing much in regard, and they have been so low in their turnover rate, it's hard to be a good defensive team. So this may have been the Spurs, though the Spurs are not a particularly high. They're 23rd in the league. They turned it over some, but that's a high number for them. So the Jazz did something. Chris Dunn with 3 steals tonight was a large part of it.
But you think about the first half, and the Jazz end up getting 34 points off of those 20 turnovers. That separated the Jazz for the most part in that first half, to the point where the Jazz led by as much as 24 in the ball game. So those turnovers leading to points on the other side, on the other end, really separated the two teams.
All right, let's talk about the offensive side. Lauri Markkanen came in. You actually, before the game, said, hey, I need the numbers on Lauri in the first quarter in the last 5 games. It was ugly. It was 33% from the field, 2 of 14. Let's give Will Hardy some credit. Out of the 2 timeouts, both times were plays for threes for Lauri. First play of the game was a 3 for Lauri. Will Hardy made a conscious effort to get Lauri going in this game.
Yeah, and that's very smart coaching. Get your star player going, get him in a position where he can score, whether you're posting him up, running him off screens, that flare play that they like to use off the pick and roll at the top of the key. I thought the timing was bad on a couple of those, and Lauri could have probably had a few more attempts from the 3-point line, but I thought the timing was bad, and it was Taylor, I think, that was setting the pick. And that means that the timing was probably not as good. But smart coaching gets Lauri to the point where he got 18 shots a ball game. He's been averaging 16 for the year. He ended up getting 8 3-point shots. That's what he averages for them all for the year, 8 3-point shots a ball game. So things worked out well for him.
11 first quarter points for Lauri, got him going. And then Jordan Clarkson, not a inefficient night, not as efficient as it started. He ended up going 8 of 17, 22 points, but he got it going there for a while, and he got it going when it was important.
Yeah, and I think the big key there for him is that, his field goal percentage varies sometimes, and that tonight 8 for 17, which is respectable, but he didn't turn the ball over. Didn't have one turnover tonight.
With 10 assists then.
Yeah, so that was totally awesome.
Let's get to that. Jordan's not having a particularly good shooting year. In fact, I think he's of shooting guards. The only shooting guard that's more inefficient than him this year is Jordan Poole, ironically enough, name-wise. But it used to be an anomaly if Jordan Clarkson got 5 assists in a game. I think it was like 11 times his last year under Quinn. He's now averaging 5 assists a game. He literally is averaging 5 assists a game, and tonight he had 10. Like, the development of that aspect of his game, or at least the unleashing of it, because I just kind of feel like he may have always had that. He's such a smart player, is really something he deserves a tremendous amount of credit for.
Yeah, he just changed this game. Just think about this. 2 years ago when he got 6th man of the year, different style of play. I mean, he was like, he was a flamethrower, but for the most part, it was strictly isolation, and he did a great job at it. And even now, he leads the league in bench points coming off the bench at 17 a game. So, and this year, he's a different person. Distributing the basketball. I mean, I don't think we saw one lob, years ago at the rim for guys like Kessler or something like that. Now he's playing that way. I mean, it's good to see, and he can get hot. He missed 2 or 3, so what? He might make the next 3 in a row.
10 assists tonight for both Colin Sexton and Jordan Clarkson. And there was an interesting moment in the game to me where we got on our mic. Ben Russell, our audio engineer, does amazing work of Bull, bring it up, Bull, bring it up, Bull, bring it up from Will Hardy. And frankly, there was a time period in which Will Hardy was doing everything he could to not have Colin Sexton ever bring up the ball and play with the ball in his hands. And that might be an exaggeration, but it's not that far off, frankly. I asked Will one of the first questions of every press conference. That actually may be my question to Will on the next press conference to open it up, is we heard this on our mic the other night. Like, when did it get to a point where you were comfortable with that? Because there was a
trusting it. Yeah,
there was a period of time where I think a nice way to say it is he didn't trust it, and you didn't want necessarily Colin bringing it up. But now he's comfortable with Colin bringing it up, leading the offense, and Colin is making the right plays. And in our post-game interview, Colin was really interesting because he had 10 assists, talking about how they adapted to playing Victor Wembayama tonight.
Now you have a player that's changing his style of play there as well. I think Colin Sexton had a little bit of Jordan Clarkson in him there for a while, meaning that especially if he wasn't starting, and that makes a difference whether you're starting or whether you're coming off the bench, to the point where he was more of an offensive player. I mean, he was going to try to take it to the basket and score and, do his thing, and knowing that he was only get so many minutes out there on the floor. But now starting, it's just, and we hear Will often talk about the film sessions and the guys that stopping the film and starting it up and putting guys in the film session to the point where they can see things on the floor.
By the way, speaking of that, there was an interesting moment that Will Hardy shared with us pregame. We didn't get into the broadcast tonight, so we'll share it with you here. There's so much information we don't get in. We try every night. That's why there's nice value to Locked On Jazz. And that is that Bryce Sensabaugh had two plays which he didn't do something exactly right in the last game, and it was in the halftime edit, and then Sensabaugh did a better job of it in the second half. And Will seemed really impressed by the fact that he took a halftime edit and used it in the second half of the game. And I thought Sensabaugh tonight actually just looked really comfortable. Like, I don't know if he had – I don't even know what his final line was, but to more than anything else, we've seen our rookies at times look like uninvolved or uncomfortable or sped up. Tonight, I just thought it looked like he was playing basketball. Like, tonight might be the first time I think Bryce Sensabaugh played NBA players and felt okay amongst him on the floor as though he belonged. He just looked normal on the floor tonight. And I thought that's an interesting moment for him, but I also thought that was a cool story from Will Hardy.
Yeah, 15 and a half minutes he played tonight. And I would imagine going forward, that might be the amount of minutes that he's going to make or be able to play for the rest of the season coming off the bench. So those minutes have to be productive. Not so much on the offensive end, as Will has pointed out. He wants to see improvement on the defensive end and making the right decisions out there. And obviously, he saw something in that ball game the other night in the second half. Be interesting to see, ask him what he thought about tonight's game there as well.
All right, let's star it up. By the way, for those of you watching tonight on YouTube and wondering why, it is a video-only broadcast version of Locked On Jazz today. We are transitioning from one platform to another. So therefore, won't impact you at all as a viewer or a listener. But if you're wondering why we're video only tonight, that is the reason. All right. Now, with that said, starring it up tonight may not be the easiest thing ever. It would not be the rookies tonight. Taylor Hendricks fouled out in 25 minutes. Keontae went 3 of 13, did have 5 assists.
I think all of those may have been in the first half as well.
And Bryce Sensabaugh, we mentioned, had 15 points. So none of the rookies. So where are you going, Ron Boone?
Well, you either have to go, or I think I'm going anyway, with Sexton and Jordan Clarkson, although Markkanen really got things going there.
All right.
So
I agree with you, but then can we take a second and talk about Chris Dunn?
Yes. Let's talk about Chris Dunn.
I thought he
really makes a big difference.
He changed the game tonight.
Yeah. And for the most part, that's what we've always done, especially if it's just one quarter or if they change the complexity of the ball game. Turn things around to the point the Jazz are going in a different direction. A lot of times you get that. That's should be a start. But I thought the 20 assists of the 35 assists by those two guys.
I think it's a little bit. I think the reason why they deserve the stars tonight is because one of Will Hardy's themes is for us to be good, you've got to give up of yourself. Mm-hmm. You've got to give 5 or 10% of yourself to the middle of the pot for everybody else. For Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton to be passing the basketball is giving up of themselves. That is an unnatural act for the two of those men to do that, and they have learned how to do it. And so I do agree that they deserve the stars tonight, but I really just thought Chris Dunn, 3 steals is what he finished with tonight. He had a big 3 on the right corner. He just played with tenacity. He hassled them. It was really great. All right.
And we did the same thing the other night with John Collins. He had 18 rebounds and
we slighted him. All right, so I know you probably want to go home. I don't have anywhere to go, so I'm just gonna keep talking. No, I don't need to broadcast that, but it's kind of a joke. It's true. I have nowhere to go. Not like anything bad like that. I'm just don't worry. Don't take that the wrong way. All right, it's a long story. I'll tell the story on our next postcast. You'll understand then why.
Yeah.
Victor Wembayama. I am wowed every time I watch him. I cannot imagine what it's going to be like. I guess he gets stronger, and if he does, I can't imagine this. I thought they used him in a spot tonight at the elbow where that's going to be a future spot for him, and he's going to be brutal. I frankly think the one problem with that is that it only gets a 2, and with his length, I actually think you could take that handoff out about 18, 20 feet, and then the guy's rolling for a 3 or turning the corner, and he could, with 2 dribbles, go and get himself, to the left corner with no problem at all, or left-hand dribble to the base. I mean, it's incredible. I've never seen anything like it.
I go back, but first of all, they list him at 230 pounds. I don't think he was.
I thought they listed him at 205.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I thought, I'm sorry. Maybe I looked at it wrong, but I thought
they had him at 205. You have him listed at 230. There's no chance he's at 230.
So
I'm Basketball Reference, I think, has him at 205.
And maybe I don't think he weighs 230, but
yeah, there's no chance. Well, 209 on Basketball Reference.
Okay, so I would imagine, let's say between 209 and 215, somewhere.
Yeah, I
in there.
agree.
Now, you try to put weight on him, or you make him stronger. You get him in the weight room. I remember reading or listening to some comments that were made by the Joker, Jokic.
Yep.
So he's awfully skinny. That's what he said, So he's, he knows that he can move a guy around like that just, because he's just not strong enough and don't have the weight, to carry that position down in the middle.
All right. Well, we'll see. If you have not seen Victor come out, the Spurs come out later this month, and they're going to be here. It's worth coming out to see.
They'll be back pretty quick.
We'll be in Atlanta, Orlando, and Miami. We look forward to joining you on your drive home on the radio broadcast for those. So thank you very much for taking the time with us tonight. This has been Postcast. We will now send you for the first ever 24/7 national sports channel, Locked On Sports Today. Thank you very much for tuning in. Jazz win it tonight over the San Antonio Spurs, 128-109. Have a great night and be safe.